Team Freedom would like to go to the top and never let B-Step win. And they only need one more game win before they head on to Superstars. You guys think that Freedom are going to close it out here? We know we're going to Tomb. Cawthon?
I think B-Step has got a lot more than what they've shown us so far. I don't know if they're going to reach another bag of tricks this early and show something unusual here, but I do expect them, if they don't do that, to pick a comp that's more suited to their style. I want to see high aggression, early game power. I don't want to see any more of this dancing around the map, playing passively, losing the game slowly. They're not going to win that way. They should know that by now.
I seemed a little bit frustrated when you came back here after that Sky Temple game. And it's hard because, especially after we saw game 1 from B-Step, they did seem to be this changed team, Dread.
They did. They very much felt that way, but they feel like they looked at a major problem, and they were like, our early game needs to be worked on. And so they were like, boot camp it out, we'll focus on the early game, but they forgot about the mid, which then stacks on like to the late game. They just were like, okay, we're going to get better at the early game. We aren't down a level pre-10, but they go, we're still going to bank on that late game team fight, rely so heavily on it. And it is scary, even if they have, you know, the pocket strategy come out in this draft. I just wonder if the decision-making alone is going to matter if Team Freedom just focuses on a mid-game composition with heavy wave clear and shut out the game before it even manages to make it to 20.
When I watched the AMA that McIntyre had on his stream from the boot camp for B-Step, they did say that the #1 thing that they were working on was the drafting. So do you guys agree that that should have been the #1 thing for them to work on? Or is it that maybe they didn't give enough thought to their early game and how they make sure that they're getting the early game, controlling it? What do you think, Cawthon?
I would say they should have worked more on consistent aggression. It always pays off for them. It's clearly their strength as a team. Their macro play, their rotations are not up to the level of some other teams. I would have liked to see them embrace more often taking fights without clear advantages just because they know they team fight better than other teams. You see them play aggressive and get these advantages, but then they tend to like slowly just wait the game away for the late game when they should be continuing to force things, continuing to fight, continuing to rely on their mechanics to get a lead.
Well, on the other side, though, Team Freedom has been doing a fantastic job bringing the aggression to B-Step, which has not been... You know, you look at those names, you look at the names on the B-Steps roster, and it can be a little intimidating to want to bring the aggression to them. But Team Freedom has done this consistently. They've been playing picks that we know that they like. You just have to do it one more time on Tomb of the Spider Queen, which was B-Step's pick. That was what you were hoping for, Dread.
Yeah, and all of that came down just to the fact that the best look we got of B-Step so far was on Dragonshire, and out of the map pool, Tomb is the closest thing to resemble Dragonshire. It doesn't play exactly the same, but there are some key elements, so hopefully that works out to benefit B-Step here in this game so we can get ourselves a Game 5.
Are you hoping once more for this Tyrael Greymane composition now, having seen it for 2 different games for B-Step?
Totally okay if they don't draft both of those.
Okay.
Or if they do, just take Judgment, no matter what. Just because B-Step is one of the most, not only does it accent, like, you know, the hyphy playstyle that Cawthon was alluding to before, but they were one of the first teams to want to play Judgment before it was cool. And, you know, at least then they can pick synergistic heroes, but in a different way. You know, a lot easier than that of Sanctification.
Judgment hipsters.
They were, man. They were busting it out before it became hot.
Judgment, Ring of Frost, Sulfurous Smash at the beginning of part 2. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah.
On Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing that old K1 Jaina make an appearance here.
Right.
It's not like it's a terrible pick on this map.
No, it's pretty solid. You know, can wave clear rather well. Provides a lot of kill potential into your 4-man.
One thing I will note here is that you tend to see Chromie very, very highly valued on this map by EU teams, and it's carrying over to NA. I haven't seen the hero prioritized too much in this matchup so far, but seeing as it's this map, we should be on the lookout for an early Chromie pick.
The Nazebo high priority coming out from Freedom only would make it that much more viable on the back half of the draft for that B-Step if it doesn't draw a ban now, too, because Li Ming is... Not only is she not appealing due to the 1 in 17, but it's on this map with the no wave clear, no single kill.
It's 2 in 17 now.
Oh, she won.
She won.
2 in 17. My bad. She legit.
Get it right.
But yeah, no. So the Chromie I think could be that much more appealing there after this first pick. But for B-Step, with a Nazebo locked in, more late game focus for Freedom. What is the most impactful rotation you think for B-Step here?
I'd like to see them, if they don't go for the early Chromie, which I kind of don't think they will, I'd like to see them grab a Gul'dan or something here that has very, very high wave clear. I want to see them punish the Nazebos weak early game and snowball off those early turn-ins.
Man, B-Step has been pretty focused in a lot of their bans at trying to stop double support. And this is the first time for me that I'm noticing that they are switching their bans quite a lot now, making sure that they are taking out a noob. But taking out a noob and Murden has not been working out for them Tyrael-wise, so now getting a warrior higher up, getting ETC and pairing it with Malfurion.
I'm immediately suspicious of this draft.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay, so I wasn't the only one. I'm really glad that you, because, okay, so the reason why that argument you just made does hold true, but the problem is ETC has not been contested at all. So if you're like, well, I don't want to pick Tyrael, that's fine. Why do you pick ETC this high up? There is obviously something else after that secondary ban phase that goes with the ETC. That's a flavor. You got any guesses?
I mean, you can play into a Chromie blow-up comp with this, but at the same time, it's much more likely that the Chromie gets denied than the ETC does.
Yeah.
So this leads me to think that some sort of nonsense like Cho'Gall or like some sort of really unexpected comp may be coming on the back half here.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be as wild as the Cho'Gall. I don't think it's going to be
wild,
the
like,
Cho'Gall, but yeah, some form of flavor.
The 1-2 ETC is, it's definitely telling of something strange yet to come.
I love whenever we have this in a draft where it's just a fat old question mark thrown down, whereas blatantly something's happening.
And it often is with that tank support when you're able to get just those two and you're in the second pick spot that you're able to just be like, well, we're just getting our warrior and support. It's not anything. Don't worry about it.
Johanna ban doesn't hint towards anything, just removes a bit of the early game laning pressure. And last time we saw the Nazebo busted out for Freedom and so many squishies, they ran that JoJo to help their 4-man. Man, what is it?
Is Freedom, are they as suspicious as we are? Or are they just happily drafting away?
All right.
Let's see what this ban tells us.
I hate that too, man. Nothing is worse in a game than when you lock something in and then the next rotation, you were like, yeah, this is a standard Heroes of the Game or Heroes of the Storm game, right? That I'm playing. And then you drop the ban and then the next rotation, snap lock in something you never would have thought of. And you're like,
Ruh-roh.
Oh, now what do we do? Gul'dan removed. A lot of focus onto the 4-man.
Here it is, B-Step. Now, the one thing to consider is that B-Step very rarely snap locks in anything. They love to take their time.
Oh, I can tell you that. Having scrimmed against them many times, it is not just in these drafts. They like to get it right.
Thank heavens for no chat drafting anymore for that one.
Okay, so no snap lock. I would have expected if their strange pick was here. Just
there it is.
There it is.
Found it.
Oh, old school Cloud9 again.
There we have it.
Is that a? Do they last pick it? There was a specific pick that had to synergize with the Rexar when they ran it, and that was the Tyrande. Do they pick the Tyrande here?
Surely.
They do.
Wait, is this K1 Pro Rexar, or are we putting
No,
Dream
that's
back?
iDream.
Yeah, we're going to put
iDream.
Dream back, right? Okay.
Yeah. So the K1 Pro could definitely be on the Tyrande. I mean, he's known for that.
We should point out this is not reworked Tyrande yet either.
Yeah, it isn't the I get auto attacks and get to heal everybody really dope Tyrande. It's the I only know how to stun lock one person and blow him up, and if that didn't work, who knows Tyrande? It's just
hashtag no bias.
I'm just saying
Jordan
that.
has no Tyrande
I'm just saying for the world of I'm known as the Tyrande hater. New Tyrande, dope. New Tyrande breaks all the rules. This Tyrande, resident sleeper.
Ooh.
Expecting that burst comp, immediately reacted with the spell damage armor tanks from Freedom. Also, the knowledge that B-Step banned out a Nubarak. They're expecting some heavy spell damage coming here from this last pick, or at least from the Kael'thas already.
And Diablo can get his soul shield. Tyrael, of course, has the spell armor. That looks like a heck of a comp for Team Freedom.
Question being, I imagine B-Step was looking for something like the Tyrande to potentially blow up here. Will the spell damage resistant tanks make them go into a different direction here with something like a Greymane instead who still has burst, especially with the bullet against Diablo, but isn't as susceptible to the magic damage reduction those tanks provide.
Well, with Freedom already having Greymane, what could work in that stead, you think?
Well, I should say Tychus would be the only other choice besides the Greymane. Something like Tychus, there's only really 2 of those heroes. There it is,
We're
the Tyrande
in.
anyway.
I actually, with the Kel'Thas is one of the few that kind of meets that category. But with them having this picked up, they've got 4 stuns to be able to throw, a follow-up route from the Malfurion. We're really going to put to the test Guardian of the Ancient King this game. Get to feel the full embrace on stun long compositions. Is it worth to move into that, or do we see a Painted Cleanse? I hope we don't. I don't think this is one of those moments. I want to see it, see the value it gains. I do think some targets are vulnerable to death, specifically the Greymane, but everyone else should be able to survive.
Well, Uther, again, his Hand of Protection has a longer cooldown, but he can shorten it with his basic attacks. Is it too scary, though, to even get up in range to get those?
Okay, so there's, in the world of supports, there is a really weird curve for Uther on when there is a cleanse viable and it's better than Guardian of the Ancient King. So like very little CC, only 1. Generally, it's going to be you want to go with Guardian. There's this weird middle ground where it's all singular, only solo target CC, and it's only in a quick, hasteful burst. Cleanse is worth it. And then in all other cases, Guardian of the Ancient King again.
So you want to see Guardian.
We are on the really, really far end, but it's just close enough to being enough single target all-in CC that Cleanse is almost worth it. But I think you should just put Guardian to the test. Way too high of health pools. Remove the armor, make him near invincible, it feels like at that point. They'll easily turn a fight.
Cawthon, is this the game that Freedom takes, or do you think we're going to Game 5?
I think that B-Step needs to press their advantage before level 7. They have a very tiny window. They need to get kills before the Guardian comes in. They need to get a turn in or close to it and snowball with a level lead plus before level 10.
Well, that puts a lot of pressure on B-Step. Let's see how they handle it if they could take us to Game 5. We'll see you on the Tomb of the Spider Queen. Or in the tomb?
I don't know. All I know is we're going to have our pal Misha with us here today. So, this was a long time ago. When was the last time we saw this? Probably, it's been 8, 9 months? It's been a long while since, what is it? You got a sad face.
K1 Pro, Rexar, iDream, Kael'Thas, McIntyre, Tyrande.
Yeah, that is a sad day.
It's cool. It's cool that they've made these changes, and I love seeing that K1 Pro is playing Rexar, but I wanted the old school picks.
Yeah, and the reason she wanted the old school picks is because this isn't just taking one of the key characters. It's like Glarung on Zeratul is Tyrande for K1 Pro.
Yes.
And legitimately, Rexar was the highest win rate hero with a sample size above 5 for iDream out of all of his games he played competitively last year. So like it's just 2 iconic heroes for 2 iconic players. They're going to post up. Okay, so why we see the minions being held back, it's always about the level 1 fight. Tyrande wins the level 1 fight flat out, so you just want to baby your minions back as far as possible.
Well, that was rude.
Zugrig doesn't mess around. Misha got to know her place, you know? Just walks up there, give her the old shadow charge.
First hero kill, kind of. First blood, kind of. But Insomnia's taking a lot of damage. Body block's good. Jumps to Eldruin. Team Freedom survives the first of many pick attempts.
This Uther matchup, just as a support nerd, this is giving me so much excitement because, all right, so everything he does is all time sensitive. Obviously, supports are reactionary, it's time sensitive, duh, Dread, but why does it matter so much with him? They have so much freaking chain CC, and the 25 armor you give when you give the armor and when you go out of your way to proc Guardian the Ancient King is extremely important in this game, and we're taking a dude who's not even been a lifelong support player, a role swapped support player, to make that clutch play.
Yeah, but we know that Collusion's growth has been incredible, especially throughout Part 2. He's switching from Warrior to, especially his Malfurion play has just been impeccable. He always lands his Twilight Dreams, and now we're getting to see his prowess on Uther, and he'll be needed for his team to keep him alive. Once Team Freedom gets to 10, they'll have other things like Sanctification too to try to make sure to keep each other alive, and that's why Cawthon Luck talked about how important it is, how integral to this composition it is for B-Step to get picks early.
Yeah, their lack of wave, like there's about 5 different features of the composition, the play style of B-Step that has set this game to that 7 level mark that Cawthon brought up before.
B-Step has gotten some talents to try to help with the wave clear. Of course, we see Moonburn is there too, but then also Bird of Prey, so more damage to minions from the Spirit Swoop of Rexar. I'm excited to see what K1 Pro takes at level 4 right here. If it's Animal Husbandry, or if you're going to have something like, I think it's Hungry Bear there, or Misha being able to have Misha charge up. No, instead getting Block. It's Grizzled Fortitude. And the cool thing about Grizzled Fortitude is that you can get block stacks that are independent of both Rexar and Misha.
So both can get the auto attacks.
Yes, they have their own.
And so now to give a breakdown of what is the goal of this comp, because it is very weird. You know, in Europe once in a while, we've got our couple of Rexar fans, you know, a couple of players here and there, but this draft specifically for B-Step, the original approach to it was you snowball the early game by getting kills, which then leads to a turn-in, which then leads to the one-level advantage. All the things Cawthon was talking about, what you want on this comp. But then when you have that advantage, the reason this composition can maintain it so well is because the objective is captured through the gems themselves, and you can kill them off somebody, is you use Tyrande to delay with her owls as long as you possibly could, kill Thos, poke around, and then you wait until your opponent realizes they don't want to actually take the gold 10. You drop the boars, they chase down your opponent, they slow one, you pick out which one is the, you know, the sad little Team Freedom member that is off on his own, and that is where the all-in comes out after Misha follows up with a stun. That is what this composition, that's the goal. And if they fail those first couple of minutes, they may never even have an opportunity for it to come online.
Yeah, so far they have not gotten a single pick yet. And they, even on a battleground where it's easy to collect globes, didn't go for Mana Addict for Kael'thas. So he is sort of stacking more for his damage into the later game so that they can follow up with later game damage too, but it will leave him sort of vulnerable to the dive possibilities of Team Freedom should they go into that with Greymane. And with having a Tyrael and Uther to back him up, it's very likely.
Already saw a bit of miscommunication there on that attempt on Tyrael when it comes to stacking the CCs. That may seem weird when you have that many insane amount of crowd control, but again, if you stack them on top of each other, you're losing so much, and 1 Q out. Tyrael's fine on his own. Nazeebo is going to be fine post-13 with his ice block opportunities.
There's one. Gravity Lapse. Roots there too. Convection hits for another stack. Insomnia, though, still staying strong. Living Bomb. He's using his movement speed. Finally, B-Step get their first kill.
But that is not the fashion in which they want that 1 kill. Yes, they do obviously want it, but I guess I'm trying to highlight that B-Step, yeah, they got a pick, and we see Misha caught everywhere, but this is not how this comp's supposed to work. Like, right now, Freedom has a huge lead in this game. And it's so hard to get, get that across how big it is. But this is, I mean, I would say if I was to give my interpretation of how far behind B-Step is in this game, by their patience and passiveness, it's near level, like disadvantage, just based on the fact that they are not opening up the map. They are lucky in the fact that they do have the web weavers going for them. Minimum of 1 pick, I feel like, has to happen in this time frame if they're going to be able to close out the game fast enough for this comp to work.
And remember, that was 50 gems used, so they have to try to push these waves as much as they can to open up the possibilities for that pick. They're checking out mid. They're keeping Misha in the top lane, and Rexar too.
Gravity Lapse, Lunar Flare, Power Slide. Dibbles is fine. We also got to see, that was the Guardian of the Ancient King, 1 heal after.
And Soul Shield has been online now for Diablo. He hasn't died yet, so he's been building up his souls. This Misha harassment cannot stand.
Yeah, it's rather brutal. They might have a second one there. Nope, she's going to be able to make it out. So Web Weaver's down. Gilly, what's our status? What's our, I think we called it stock
status
earlier.
Check.
What's the stock, what's going on here?
Take stock of everything?
Yeah.
A couple of towers, a gate, not another kill. Zulgrug was a difficult target. They're going to try to make that again, though. Here's the Lunar Flare follow-up. We're trying to go in maybe for Gravity Lapse. Root connects. Gravity Lapse 2. Zulgrug is fine and dandy. Guardian
Old school Uther, dead. Just dead. If that, it's just, he's so much more powerful in this matchup now. It's so neat. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's scary to give out that much armor. It's absolutely ludicrous, but still, just, I think the reason I enjoy it so much is maybe because last competitive series I played, it was Toronto meta, and I was this poor Uther trying to heal through that. So now I get to watch the new and improved Uther just go, Toronto stuns, stun lock meta. Who cares? Everybody gets a little bit of armor.
The best thing going for B-Step is they had this amount of time where no heroics were there for Team Freedom, and they are just about to turn in, but they don't have quite enough. They've just now gotten 2. Lunar Flare hits both Dansky and Zugrug. Can B-Step push back Team Freedom now that heroics are here and get that turn in?
The biggest thing for me is just how does B-Step win team fights now? They haven't really snowballed, and their original approach with the Unleash the Boars into the Starfall blow-up is not nearly as easy into a Divine Shield Sanctification comp. I mean, the reason their composition worked in the first place, Uther was out of the meta. He was single-handedly the worst support in the game, behind maybe Lili. That was why the strategy was able to take off.
Are they banking on a Mosh? Well, that's just about it.
They are. They're banking on a miracle. I can tell you that much. I don't know if the Mosh is going to be the delivery source of that, but it is a lot. Because, again, yes, they're turning in, but they need to make big plays. There it is. Starfall.
Starfall. Oh, that's APOC, though. Stopped so much of what B-Step had going in that fight in their tracks. They had to move out of it, and all of their CC, once again, was focused on Zugrug.
3 heroics, and it took 1 Uther here to deal with that. And though B-Step is, again, still into this, they're now out of gems. They don't have the reserve they've been able to build up in those first couple levels. 17 left, and there's 90-something on the other side. That's a double turn in all day. So we have seen, what is it, 105 gems at this point committed by B-Step, and they are sitting half a level ahead. That is nothing on 2.
Yeah, once Team Freedom can get a turn in, this game could snowball and swing wildly out of control for B-Step. There is the mosh pit, though. Gravity Labs follow up. They're trying to make this happen. Starfall and Phoenix were down a Venn diagram of death. Can they bring down Zugrug? They do. That is his stacks of Black Soulstone resetting, and that might be the best news for B-Step because he was out of control.
And now, I don't mean to be raining on anybody's parade here, Gilly, but I just want to take a minute to realize that that was a reasonably close fight. Like, it was in favor towards B-Step. That was a 5-man mosh pit, and an Uther who walked into the mosh pit itself. It could have been... There's about 0% chance that B-Step gets a better approach to a fight than that.
But you're saying there's a chance.
You're right. You're not wrong. You got me there.
Hell, he's going to die a lot faster. Oh, man, the armor.
It's a problem, man. It is. It seriously is one of the most absurd talents in the game. But again, I think if anything, this can show that it took a talent this strong, but for Cleanse to not be insta-picked. You know, for a lot of people at home, especially the ones that maybe don't really totally see the value of what Cleanse brings, this is the only talent in the game that has been able to rival it. Well, actually beat it. It's beating it right now. It's definitely Cleanse is the situational, not the other way around.
Man, I'm looking for things that will help. Kael'thas is going Flame Strike build, and he has gotten a lot of stacks of Convection, hasn't died. He's 16, so he's got 4 more heroes to hit, and then he doesn't have to worry about that. Once he gets Flamethrower, he can throw that out farther. A double at 16. B-Step has been able to keep Team Freedom back in this game, and that's the best thing. They have not taken away any of the gems for Freedom, but they've kept them back.
They've kept them back, and I think that's going to last as long as that number remains 12. And the minute that changes, Freedom goes, all right, it's our time to win this game. Stack a double turn-in, possibly a triple, depending on how profitable those first 2 turn-ins can be. We see the Owl. There's the Scout attempt. Tronda, she'll be goaltending as much as possible. So here's the 13 turn-in attempt. First Phoenix going to be dropped. Nasmus kindly wearing that, so Dansky could get the channel. Nice route going on to Zugrug, but he does end up getting the passive healing there. Even the D-Shield not needed, but it's going to be dropped. So now B-Step has an opportunity. D-Shield's down.
Yeah, the Bear also started the next potential stun lock chain on Dansky, but they were able to get him out. Divine Shield being used. Team Freedom might be able to step back in this. They still have Sanctification. But same thing, V-Step can cycle and use Starfall in the way that they did with Phoenix before. They don't stop Insomnia in time, so this is the first turn-in for Team Freedom of the game.
first turn-in, but they don't have the Garg, which helps them siege so very much. They don't have Divine Shield. They still got Saint and APOC, really high impact heroics there. But it is going to be, whenever you don't have too good of a dive composition, only having the Gray main to kind of follow up, usually Saint isn't that overall game changer without that support heal. So we'll figure out what they make happen. They're all going to group here in the mid, as it is really going to be the first version of maybe a team fight of this game. All the rest has just been B-Step looking for picks, not gaining anything, and getting a couple of turn-ins.
Since Superstition was nerfed to 40 spell armor instead of 50, we haven't seen that be a priority. It's been a lot more about Ice Block. But in this instance, what do you think about that Superstition pickup?
So it is, that's actually really, it plays more into the support question overall. I'll say that Kilthos is the only dependable major spell damage that I would be worried about too much. So where when they have such a momentum-based team, I think I would rather see the Ice Block just to make sure I can counter that on my own. But Superstition mixed with what we have going with the new version of Uther and how easy that seemed to be so far, I actually might be wrong in the sense that Superstition is more than enough. And on top of Uther, just one heal. But anytime you have a Tyrande-style composition you're facing, the less heroes that you need to worry about being near your support, the better. Because then you aren't forced on 5-man deathballing. Otherwise, oh, here's a pick there, here's a pick there on the map while you're just looking for soak. Which is why I view the Ice Block as safer, but either or.
Maybe the fear or the concern, too, was if he gets caught by one stun,
you can't
he's not going to be able to ice block
because he has
anyway.
no cleanse, right? Yeah, that is another one. That's why I said it's so interesting, because it is a there's like 5 different variables that all change, again, based on the fact that Uther doesn't have a traditional cleanse.
B-Step is only a few gyms away. So they stopped a double turn-in from Team Freedom because they had 16. They were able to hold them off. They kept all their forts alive. But again, this puts B-Step in a spot where they have used all of their gems, so they need to make sure they get something done with this.
And with their, you know, a bit of a struggle with the camp pressuring out on mid, they did make easy clear of it. Kilthos made it fast enough, but now it's going to be buying time. That is what B-Step wants to do, by keeping their opponent busy. Man. This free clear on this mid Web Weaver. Oh, never mind. They go over the wall. They try and make it happen. The mosh pit was interrupted. Apocalypse ends up dropping there. A lot of pressure going onto iDream as he falls very low. Throws out the Phoenix. Sanctification drops onto all 5 members of Freedom. And ETC's dead before he could even get a mosh after that interrupt.
ETC was blown up, but part of the issue, again, was that iDream became under fire, under pressure, and a lot had to be used to make sure that he could get out. A lot was used from Team Freedom, though, too. They used their Sanctification Divine Shield. It seemed like the start of that fight would be good because Apocalypse had been avoided by most people. It's just that iDream, man.
No, you know, it's part of that level 1 you were talking about, too.
Yeah.
This would be around the area on a bad game to be finishing Meta Addict. So, you know, not even if it wasn't even, you know, 2. Realistically, to have that single target defense, Malfurion not necessarily the best burst healer.
152 gems held by Team Freedom. Just props that they have not lost those. Huge props.
Yeah, you know, that is one thing that we are maybe giving enough credit to Freedom. Right, B-Step isn't obviously forcing major things. Hold on a minute. Insomnia cut out of mid. That's 49 gems. Gilly, you spoke too soon.
I cursed them. Oh, Zugrug slowed down.
Chase. Good frisbee.
Look at this flank. Zugrug getting caught, slowed down. Roots Toot, Lunar Flare. Once again, Zugrug is super healthy. He's so tanky. Collusion keeping him alive, but they're not done yet. He gets stopped. King Caffeine gets stopped out of Mosh Pit. The cleanse not quite timed in time to allow him to drop that and get the kill.
Collusion is legend. He just did all the things that any hero in the game can do to, well, not any, but a lot of people can do in the game to save his team. So the first thing he did, the reason why Diablo didn't die number 1, is you saw him throw out that frisbee over the wall. That dismount bought enough ground for Diablo to actually get in a reasonable distance. Otherwise, he would have been body blocked all day. He was just flat dead. Then we saw the secondary healing coming out, and once again, go for the, or not go for the throat, but Guardian and the Ancient King have. It's fun when we get to see the isolated example of all the damage into one target who just got it, and you know, especially a high health pool like that. But Diablo seems, when one Q's dropped, almost unscathed by any damage source going in, which is why he's such an undesirable target here for B-Step.
Yeah, he is the least focused target that B-Step would like to get. The problem is that they can't really get to anybody else because Zugrug has been the easiest, right? The look at me, use all of your abilities on me.
Well, it hits another situation where, again, he's the only... Okay, so let's say that positioning was terrible for the rest of Freedom all game. That's not even just a positioning thing. It is legitimately a compositional flaw, much like we see when B-Step tried to force the judgment. And I said, you have one target. How are you ever going to make this happen? It is the exact same case here. Nazeebo even took the riskier choice, and we have not seen one opportunity for that to be close. There's been one fight where B-Step got a legitimate kill on an isolated target, and every other one was due to a poor timed Divine Shield for no reason or a major misplay on the side of Freedom. And that's with a Rexar Toronto composition, which should be looking at kill 12, 30, like maybe 30 at this point.
It's 3-2. And really the only reason that B-Step has been able to maintain control of this game, which is remarkable, is that they've kept Freedom at bay when it comes to turn-ins.
I will say, Freedom gives them way too much respect right now. Freedom has been playing more passive in general, it feels like, today, but understandably so, right? This is a lot on the line here at the playoffs. Nice holy ground on Amisha. But in general, Freedom has been a bit more dismissive and passive of these type of situations.
Yeah, but they're holding 130 gems. And the last time they were holding 150, they ended up losing 49 of them. Here it goes. Once again, it's Zugrug who's the focus. Cleanse has to be used as Zugrug just dives into the backline off of that. But Sanctification was also popped for Team Freedom. That is one of the major ways to keep the team alive.
The holy ground is split iDream, but no kill was to be gained. There is going to be Caffeine onto the backline. A lot of damage moving out onto Diablo. Zugrug getting the heals, though. Misha comes back, throws out single stun. The combo again into Zugrug. Uther there with the heals, though. It's not going to matter. Collusion's completely split from his team. He is definitely backing out.
Misha actually gave Diablo a way of being able to charge in. What are you confused about?
Freedom just... I know, I'm so weird. I'm sorry. They just backed out. Just completely. So, I mean, obviously they were like, okay, this isn't a fight that they want, but how they backed out was so... Oh, man, hold on. First stun combo. That is second one, actually, that's successful. There goes the Boars. Insomnia.
Those gyms, though, they left the gyms. Zugrug at least gets them. Is like, good luck, buddy, you're on your own. Just runs in, grabs them, and runs immediately back out.
Nazeebo's already started the channel, too. The boss is going to be started with the... When the turn-in happens, they probably already know. It's going to be boss. There's the owl displayed. So, a boss trade, 20 achieved, turn-in happened. We got, what, 10 seconds before the Tyrael will be back up by the time the boss moves its way through. Can Cap get this delay?
Yeah.
Should have de-shielded it. Now?
Does he the power side?
Ooh, not even needing it. They were banking on the owl. Just a little bit of mistime. So yeah, 10 seconds before the Tyrael is going to move up once it gets to the keep. This could be game, but it doesn't have to be. And with B-Step, if B-Step initiates here, they aren't even going to move with it. Man, B-Step is going to clear? You have... B-Step's going to clear. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. All right, so why do we push with that boss when we have B-Step's composition? You have zero wave clear whatsoever.
Yep.
You have no opportunity to end with...
I'm going to kill Thos.
That's it. Kael'Thas is your best wave clear. The rest of you suck at sieging. You are absolutely terrible at sieging up, minus maybe a drop of a Starfall. A lot of what you do best, getting picks on isolated targets and applying split pressure. When you have that boss pushing up on top, the odds of you getting a Web Weaver phase that nets enough singular kills to actually win the game off your next turn-in is almost non-existent. That boss fight up on top, though, the closest thing, or a minimum of a pick.
Yeah, that does seem weird that they didn't want to focus on that, especially because had Team Freedom defended in the wrong way, there's always a possibility that you can get a pick easier off of that. But they protected their structures again. It was basically a net sum of 0 for both teams. No forts, really, except for the top one. Moshpit is connecting, though. It is not stopped. Sanctification as Tyrael comes out. King Caffeine has to power slide away.
And Uther is still alive, not worried about much. Dainsky needing some heals on the backline. He's going to be fine. Misha goes in, stuns out Nasmus. But this is a losing fight here for Freedom as their health bars are significantly lower than B-Step, but B-Step has enough gems for the turn-it.
That was Tour Bus that we have on Mosh Pit in case Calf wants to try to drop the Mosh, and then surprise Mosh Pit right in.
I'm trying, just because this game has kind of broken all I know of Tomb of the Spider Queen, I'm trying to figure out, let's just say B-Step doesn't get a keep here. Do they survive another rotation?
That's what I was wondering,
I don't
too.
think they do. For me, this feels like the breaking point. This has to be it. After the boss and this turn-in, if they do not get enough picks to at least get a minimum of 1 keep here, that's it.
Well, the difference is they're posting up with these instead of the boss. They have Kill Foss too. You can see he can start trying to do damage, although Dainsky, Superstition coming in handy again. There's Phoenix. Do we see Starfall 2? 5 seconds until then.
Rayman's still up on top. Bottom Web Weaver's got a while before it has any effectiveness. The poke is real. Misha, probably some of the most Misha kills I've ever seen in a Rexar game this game, thanks to Diablo.
Gravity Lapse and Roots zone away. B-Step so that they can escape. The keep didn't get taken down. Only one Web Weaver is left, and it's in the bottom lane. B-Step are desperate to take a keep out in this game.
They're just unable to. Again, compositionally, the Kel'Thas Flame.
Double Flame Strike.
It's not there yet.
Oh, man.
They go in for the rebuttal, though. Knocking back King Caffeine. Stun goes out onto the Diablo, but he is fine for now. Collusion, 8 a bit of damage. Healing himself back up. 78 gems, so Freedom has the opportunity to get themselves a turn in if B-Step lets it. But they are so very good at goaltending. This is what the composition is good at on the defensive. But I just can't help. If Freedom decides to just go, everybody press R at the same time, I don't feel like they lose this game. But if they keep playing as reactionary and risking engagement after engagement, they may end up losing. iDream getting
Fully
cut out.
iDream.
The cleansings that weren't enough to be able to get him out. Calf went in for the, the mosh pit afterwards, but it did not matter. There was going to be Divine Shielded Greymane Nasmus ripping through some of the members of B-Step, but Calf stuck into a zombie wall. It's another kill going over to Freedom.
2 down for an eternity for B-Step. Freedom finally gets a turn-in and can rid of B-Step's final forts. They don't even care about that. They know that they need to open up keeps right now, especially with the 2 people down.
So the biggest thing here for B-Step is they have 0 kill potential unless a Twilight Dream is used or Kel'Thas spawns. So they have an opportunity through a Rexar combo of maybe getting a one-shot onto a backline with Twilight Dream. That is one risky strategy they can go for defensive. Otherwise, it's going to be committing more to that 5 versus 5 fight when everybody's alive. McIntyre gets flipped over. The Tronda is able to survive thanks to a nice root from APM.
Still 9 seconds until Kel'Thas is back. 20 for ETC. Team Freedom are trying to go for the end so that they can match up. Twilight Dream hits, but a lot of Team Freedom staying strong as they start to bring down the core. This looks to be it, Dread. Team Freedom are bringing down the core of B-Step, and they will march on to the next stage of playoffs to take on Superstars.
For Team Freedom here, a new challenger approaches if they take a step up the ladder. And B-Step, we aren't sending them home, but they are going to have a convenient break after this tragic loss. The B-Step, the one thing that hurts my soul more than anything here is just the B-Step hype train. From all my interviews, I got so stoked. I was like, you know what? This is the moment, right? The prophecy's going to fulfill itself. And then Freedom just was like, nah, not today. 3-1, easy.
Well, Insomnia promised me that he thought that they could make a run, and they made a good showing of this. Only losing game number 1, they withstood so much pressure throughout that game, Cawthon.
I'm really impressed with Freedom. I mean, going down 0-1 to a team is filled with veterans and great players as B-Step, and then coming back and taking 3 straight. I got to give them props. That was a great performance. Did
you have any highlights from that game? Anything that stood out to you as maybe game changers or even playmakers for teams?
Unfortunately, as has been the story of the series, I think that B-Step missed their window to be aggressive, and they played too passively and let the game slip away from them. It was late around the level 18 to 20 mark. They had multiple opportunities. There was one where a Sanctification was burned early and down, and instead of forcing a 19-19 fight where they had a huge advantage, the other team not having Sanct, They opted to play passively, wait for 20, but off that 20, they didn't do anything either because they got kills, got a boss, and then passively let the other team get a turn in and just went back to wave clearing.
If anything, you know, with the early game power spike that the composition has too, with waiting for the 20 threshold, 16s are rarely defensive unless directly on a warrior, but a lot of heroes post 20, right? So even more defensive tools for anybody who would have been afraid to, you know, survive on their own.
Well, Cawthon, I hear you have a replay from that last game to talk us through.
I think we're just going to take a look at the end here where the picks secure the finish of this game. Yeah, I mean, a great holy ground. Catching iDream. I mean, to give him credit, iDream is stepping up, trying to look to make something happen there. They know they can't win this game, just like letting Freedom poke them for the rest of the game with the Nazebo. Gets caught, then Calf dies trying to save him, and as soon as those web weavers spawn, I started walking back in here. I knew the game was over.
Yeah, it was a tough moment because B-Step had, even though they didn't get a lot of picks early on, they held on to the game so strongly. But as you said, Dread, part of it at least was on Freedom. Whether it was concern over making sure that they could close out the series or concern because they had 150 gems twice that they didn't want to let go, they were fairly passive in that mid game. How do you think Freedom is going to do versus Superstars now?
I actually am pretty optimistic about this, about Freedom up against Superstars. I actually think that they probably have a chance of upsetting Superstars realistically here.
Well, Freedom marches on.